listening to Cricket World Radio.
And this is Cricket World Around the World. Welcome to Cricket World Around the World. I'm John Pennington. I'm joined again by Jim White. Hello, Jim.
Hello, John.
Now, you've been very busy this week at the European premiere of Fire in Babylon. We're going to be talking a little bit more about that later on in the show. We've also got the latest from the ICC as well. But first, we're going to discuss some of the major headlines from this week. And we're going to start by thinking about the IPL. More sixes, more runs. Chris Gayle in particular has been outstanding. What's been your sort of take on the latest action out in India, Jim?
Well, it's continuing, John. Suffice to say, 50-something, 56, 57 games gone. Well into the stage now where it becomes must-win games. Some of the teams have got 3 or 4 games left and they must win all of those games to get anywhere near the playoffs. Mumbai and Chennai, of course, as fairly well expected. Early runners, if you like, get themselves past the post. Yep, more sixes than you can shake a stick at. Chris Gayle particularly shaking his big stick of a cricket bat and popping them over the ropes with consummate ease. 37 off 1 over. Amazing. I didn't see it, but apparently no balls and going for 6 and 3 hits.
Wide as well in there. It was
crowd must be going absolutely bonkers.
They're really enjoying it. And Chris Gayle, for me, possibly one of the best transfers of the year. And I'm talking sort of all sport. I know football fans think, what about Javier Hernandez for Manchester United? But for me, football. Chris Gayle, okay. I know it's a different sport, but just sort of bringing it in there. Chris Gayle as a replacement for Dirk Nannes. What a piece of business that was by the Royal Challengers.
It is. I mean, interesting though that invariably it's all about runs scored, but bowlers will win you games. Dirk Nannes obviously has been one of the specialist 2020 bowlers when he was playing for Middlesex, playing for Holland, and he was playing for Netherlands, should I say, and Australia. Really a key bowler, and Nottinghamshire as well in the English domestic season. Really, really top class bowler. But as you say, what a transfer! I did see Chris Gayle in the World 2020 at the Oval, putting Brett Lee back over his head down towards Kennington Tube Station, and I'll tell you what, you could just hear jaws dropping, 90 miles an hour, and he's heading him back over his head. And even Brett Lee back then was just thinking, what's going on here? And looks like he's in cracking form there. Obviously, more recently he's been in the news with all those little shenanigans with the West Indies Cricket Board. Hopefully it'll all get settled. We'll talk a bit later about the Fire in Babylon, but I know he was very impressed to have seen that, because he didn't know much about the history, and maybe now he understands what it's like to represent his nation or to be a West Indian cricketer. Maybe it's just spurred him on to greater things.
Well, that leads us nicely on to, of course, Chris Gayle not playing in the West Indies-Pakistan Test Series, which gets underway, of course, in Guyana. They've recalled Shivnarine Chanderpaul. Well, I say recalled him because he wasn't playing in the ODI. Sarwan is back. Lendl Simmons is likely to open the batting alongside Devon Smith. Marlon Samuels is back. He's, of course, just back from a 2-year ban for illegal links with bookmakers. And Devendra Bishu, the young leg spinner, is potentially poised for his debut as well. I know you're sort of tipping the West Indies to win the first game, Jim.
Well, I am. I think they're on a roll, JP, from the end of the ODI series. I think they finished really strongly. I don't know whether it's Pakistan taking the foot off the gas. I was saying a couple of weeks ago, great to see Pakistan being consistent, which was one of their sort of short comings, if you like. But the West Indies, I think, have upped the game. But you've mentioned some of the players that are coming back. Definitely a stronger unit. And again, if they can just start to put things together, I think as a test team particularly, they'll be too strong with Pakistan. I might even go, it's either going to be 1-0 with a bit of rain, as is fairly commonplace in Guyana, sadly. But I thought it'll be 2-0. I don't see Pakistan have enough in the test matches to win a game. It's interesting that now with the departure of Yunus Khan, he returned home following the very sad death of his brother, and our thoughts are with him obviously at this difficult time, but none of the Pakistan touring party have actually played a test match in the West Indies, and for me they're going to be heavily reliant, and they haven't won in 7 visits. That's right. So for me they're heavily reliant. I think I'm going with the odds here, to be fair, on Misbah ul Haq and Mohamed Hafiz, particularly in terms of the experienced captain. But they could shine. The man in form. They could shine, and this will be a nice thing, but it'll be glimmers. It won't be. I don't think it'll be enough over a period of 5 days twice to halt the West Indies. Well, we're going to be watching that series with particular interest. Coming up also, we've got Sri Lanka arriving in England shortly. They play the England Lions to start with, which is the England A team, and they've named their squad. And for me, the fascinating thing
with this particular squad, you've got a number of young batsmen, Ravi Bopara, Owen Morgan, James Hildreth, even James Taylor. This is almost a shootout for that number 6 spot now that Paul Collingwood's retired.
I think Ravi Bopara will be very pleased to hear, John, you called him a young player. He's
young in terms of international experience, perhaps.
Yeah. But I mean, he's got to be favourite, I think, because he bowls a bit of dibbly-dob, which is what Collingwood does bring to the games. Quite often, if you put extreme pace, batsmen love it because they just hit through the line of the ball. And Sri Lankans, even without some of their top players who are unavailable or injured or in the IPL, will like the ball coming onto the bats. I know as they go into the Test series here, I think some of the England cricketers, Jimmy Anderson being one, will be looking to recover that form of the Ashes with the red ball and white clothing. A little bit of a hiccup for them in the World Cup. Just scheduling ridiculous, as I said last week. It really is causing a lot of problems. We'll come on to that maybe at a later date.
Yes, there's a whole new discussion. I just want to read out the squad, and I think it does sort of underline the strength in depth that England will certainly point to at the moment. James Hildreth, the captain, Jimmy Adams, Jonathan Bairstow, Danny Briggs, Ravi Bopara, Jade Dernbach was a late call-up for the World Cup, of course, Stephen Finn, Owen Morgan, Graham Onions, great to see him back 15 months out of international cricket with a back injury. Samit Patel, very interesting to see him back in the squad. Ajmal Shahzad and James Taylor. So England looking pretty strong for me in the years to come.
Absolutely, and you know, there's some names in there. The ones James Taylor, I think, is a good choice. Really did well on his tours.
Future England captain for me.
Yes, that's a possibility. Looking ahead, you heard it here first. JP,
well, I put it out on Twitter as well.
Yeah, have as well. Yeah, no, I mean he did really well on his winter away. We obviously interviewed him earlier in the year. Really good to hear from him at the Leicestershire County Media Morning. Again, Jimmy Adams in there as well. Again, rewarded for more good experiences and stepping up to the plate. I was talking actually with another England A player of years gone by, Darren Bicknell, and he was always saying it's that step up, and I really hope these players take their chance and aren't afraid to play the brand of cricket that has got them there in the first place. This is the key thing for them, is that step up. And this is what Darren was saying, is that when he went on tour for England A, it was, oh my goodness me, here I am, and he played in a different way and didn't play very much after that because he went into a bit of a shell. So I really hope that these guys are given, you know, the license to bat how they bat, bowl how they bowl. Shahzad, like him, quick. That'll get a few bits of leather past the noses of the opening batsman, I'm sure, and that's a good. And also Danny Briggs in there, and he is having a lot of really good reports at the moment. And he is definitely a name for the future as well. So all good seeing. I like the squad. Yeah, really good mix.
That game gets underway on the 19th over in Derby. So we're looking forward to that.
Might you go and watch some of it, JP?
Well, that would be fantastic, Jim. Not quite closer to home, but maybe close to home, the home of cricket, I suppose, at Lords this week. The ICC committee met. They had a 2-day meeting. They've made a number of recommendations which they will now pass to the ICC board when it meets in Hong Kong in June, and just picked out a few of them. They recommend get rid of runners in international cricket, start penalising batsmen who change the course of their run to obstruct the field, 2 balls used for one-day international cricket, so 1 at each end. Power play is only allowed to be taken between the 16th and the 40th over of one-day internationals, and also some reports coming out, they again have pushed for a qualifying event for the 2015 World Cup. What do you make of those recommendations, Jim?
All of them, or do you want to pick out one in particular?
Well,
from the top then.
Take
okay, I'll give you a quick rundown. My thoughts on these. Runners, great idea. Get rid of them if you're hurt. Tough banana, whatever you want to call it. I played in the game once. You like this? Okay, years ago, where it was a Sunday fixture for my club. We supplied both umpires. We had 2 batsmen batting, and each batsman had a runner. And in between overs, there were 6 cricketers from our club. There's only 3 left on the sidelines because someone were late in arriving. Absolute mayhem, run-outs galore, absolutely ridiculous. I think it's a good move. Bowlers get injured, they can't bowl, they can't carry on. Batsmen, if you're injured because of fitness or you're unlucky, sorry, that's the way it goes. That actually should be part of the game, and I don't mind that coming in. It also takes out this farce of runners not running, and as we saw in the English domestic 2020 final at Hampshire last year, where there was a run out, the runner ran and he was out of his ground, and Somerset could have won it. So you've got all that. Take it out of the way. It's not required. 2 balls and ODIs. Yeah, it's been done years ago. I don't have a problem with that either. It'll take away the need to change it at 34 overs. It also means each ball will stay relatively newer for longer because it's only going for half the over, so don't mind that. 640th over, well, fine. Don't mind that either. That's probably reasonably sensible.
I'm not convinced by that because I know that teams do tend to sort of take it straight away or leave it to the end. But I think teams were just beginning to get to the stage where the captains are being a bit more inventive and bringing it early. So
yeah, or as we spoke the other day, if you don't take it simple, you have to take it. Well, why do you have to take it? What if you don't want to take it? Is that because it's penalising one team?
Yes, it is, because the way the playing conditions are the same for both teams. Yeah. I think that's fair, but I personally don't really see the need to restrict between the 16th and the 40th. I think it's quite exciting sometimes to have it. Well, let's leave it to like 43, 44.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll take your point on that.
I think it just takes a little bit of the strategic element out of the game for me. But
that is true. I haven't given that one much thought, so I will sit corrected.
Well, no, that's not sit corrected, Jim. It's merely my opinion. And of course, you can get in touch.
I agree with it, JP. I've changed my thoughts on that one.
You can get in touch with your opinions as well, folks. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/cricket world, or Twitter as well. cricket_world is our handle on there, and the discussion forum as well. Got some very interesting things going on there as well. And one other news story this week: Australia have announced that Craig McDermott is to take over as their bowling coach. You understand you've got a bit of a slant on this?
No, it's a comment, JP. It's one of those little things that make you smile. Craig McDermott years ago was famed for getting himself psyched up to bowl in his aggressive Queensland attitude, if you can put the two together. They're not always synonymous. However, I think the manufacturers of steel lockers will be very pleased to hear that, because there could be some damage done. That's what he used to do. He used to bang his head against a locker and dent it before he started to bowl, to get himself psyched up to bowl really quick. So if that's his mantra, then there could be a new order for metal boxes, but we don't know. No, I'm sure he'll do very well. I liked his attitude and aggressive approach, and someone that was a bit underrated actually over the years, so good luck to him.
Okay, now we mentioned Fire in Babylon. Staying on the theme of fast bowling, is this fantastic new cricket film. It's all about the West Indies in their heyday, the 70s, the 80s, the list of legends that this film sort of portrays and tells a story. It's almost endless. Sort of Viv Richards, Clive Lloyd, Michael Holding, Joel Garner, and Jim, you were there for the European premiere in London this week. Just give us a flavour of what that was all about.
How long have we got? I could go on and on. It was absolutely brilliant. Great to see. The good thing about the film, and this is one of the important things about it, is it's not just for cricket fans. It's a good film, and what I really like what they've done kind of a documentary, interviewed the people, they've looked into how it all happened. There's two sort of elements of it that jump out. One is Tony Gregg's now probably infamous quote about making them grovel. But in 75, 76 in Australia, they got an absolute hammering, and Clive Lloyd just said, we're not doing this again. I'm going to go and find my own fast bowlers, because that was the key. Greg Chappell made the comment, fast bowlers are the key. They had Lillian Thompson, 90 plus miles an hour, and the West Indies had a very young Michael Holding who just cruised in and wasn't really, devastating. They came back with Andy Roberts, Joel Garner, Michael Holding and Colin Croft. The quote of the film for me, and my colleague Dan went to see it as well. The comment from Andy Roberts, he just said, I was called a hit man. He said, I didn't go out to hit people just got hit. And it just made everybody smile. I saw Paul Collingwood across from me watching it. He smiled at that as well. Stars came out to watch it. Kevin Peterson was there, Paul Collingwood, Hugh Grant was there, had a word with him on the not red carpet, red, gold and green carpet, all the way down to the square.
There's a first.
We got some photos on the Cricket World Fire in Babylon page. Interviews with all the people, a lot of people there. I think we had something like 30 interviews in the day. Is that right, Dan? Yes, it is.
Yes.
Brilliant. So it was a really busy day, but really worthwhile. Joel Garner, still 6'8", what a legend, very quietly spoken, obviously involved on the West Indies cricket board now. And you could just see them looking back to that time. You could see them just turning back the clock, what it meant to be part of it, because they just thought they were playing cricket for the West Indies. It's only looking back and they realised that it was a time where they actually were putting their sort of digging their heels in and saying, this is why we need to be a strong nation. They only come together, of course, as the West Indies under the cricket flag. Politics can't do it, but they managed to do it through cricket. Really good story. A lot of people there that were inspired by Issa Gurr and Ebony Rainford Brent, England women's cricket team, and others that were there. It was a really good film. Some nice snapshots where you could see the emotion of the fans that really were. It meant so much for the West Indies team to win cricket matches, not just draw games, but win matches, and it brought a lot of hope to a lot of people. And of course, with the Bob Marley soundtrack, I believe 30 years this week that he died. So nicely timed, great soundtrack, great music, and now we know why Sir Viv wore his Rasta wristband, because I think they said if he didn't play cricket, he would have had big dreadlocks.
Great stuff. No, it is a fantastic film, and it's great to see that it's being pushed out to cinemas across the country. There's a live Q&A as well, the likes of Jeff Thompson, Gordon Greenwich, and Colin Cross. So if you can get along to that, then do so. Check out the website, cricketworld.com. We've got a lot of interviews. We've got links to the Fire in Babylon page as well, so everything you need to know about that particular film. And hope you can catch up with that and watch it, and do let us know what you think. Jim, it's been fantastic to have you in again for your insight as ever. That's all we've got time for from us, but we're going to finish off the show as ever with this week's ICC Cricket World Show.
Hi there and welcome to ICC Cricket World. I'm Gautam Bhimani. In today's show, we talk to the man who took Indian cricket to new heights, Gary Kirsten. And staying in the family, we also have a word with his half-brother Peter Kirsten about his new assignment with Sierra Leone. We also have an exclusive interview with former West Indian paceman Ian Bishop about the West Indies series against Pakistan and India. But as always, we begin the show with the news that made headlines this week.
The ICC Cricket Committee successfully ended its two-day meeting at Lord's in London on Wednesday. The committee made several recommendations on cricket matters which will now be forwarded to Chief Executive's Committee for approval before finally being presented to the ICC Executive Board for approval. The committee recommended that decision review system should be used in all test matches. However, for ODIs and T20 international series, the committee suggested using only one unsuccessful review per innings. Usage of the pink ball for day and night tests also got a thumbs up. However, the committee believes that day and night tests require further testing in first-class cricket before being deemed fit for international test matches. One-day cricket also received some recommendations, including the usage of 2 balls in each innings, 1 for each end. Amongst other changes in ODIs, the committee also wants to restrict the number of fielders outside the 30-yard circle to 4 during non-power play overs. The committee also recommended that a captain of an international side should be suspended for 1 match if his side is guilty of 2 minor over-8 offences in the same format over a 12-month period. Meanwhile, Kuwait has won the ICC Cricket League Division 7. Kuwait beat Nigeria in the final of the tournament that was played in Botswana on the 8th of May. Kuwait batting first scored 219 thanks to half-century by opening batsman Irfan Bhatti. Mohammad Murad then scalped 4 wickets to restrict Nigeria to 147 runs. Murad bagged the Man of the Match and the Man of the Series award for his performances during the tournament. And former England captain Kevin Pietersen has said that having different captains for different formats of the game is fascinating, although he added that he is not sure if it will work out well. The England and Wales Cricket Board announced 3 captains for their upcoming series against Sri Lanka and India. Andrew Strauss continues to lead the side in test matches, while fellow opener Alistair Cook will now be the new captain for the one-day internationals, and Stuart Broad will be leading the English side in the shortest format of the game. Pietersen believes that Andy Flower has always come up with fresh ideas for England and is hopeful that this new idea will work in England's favour.
Thank you so much, Divya. Divya Bhagat there bringing us up to speed with the news on ICC Cricket World. Now, Kuwait winning the Division 7 of the ICC World Cricket League will surely make the team and the coach a very happy unit. One coach, though, who knows all about winning is Gary Kirsten, and Jatin Sapru caught up with him.
Gary, it's indeed a pleasure and an honour for each one of us here at ICC Cricket World getting to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us. First and foremost, an anticipated, an expected question, I'm sure. How is life after the World Cup?
Yeah, it's been a good few weeks, to be honest with you, and I've just enjoyed going back to the family and having some time to reflect on the World Cup. Unfortunately, the players didn't get the same privilege because 6 days later they were playing IPL, but it's been great to reflect and just have time to think back over the last 3 years, not only the World Cup event, but it's been a great experience, something that I really enjoyed, but I've also just enjoyed getting home and spending time with my kids, and nothing can humble you more than when your 4-year-olds telling me that I'm talking rubbish when I told them I should hold these bats. So it's been good, just to be back in that family space.
Has it in any way changed you as a person or the coach inside you?
No, listen, I just really enjoyed the experience. I mean, I came in relatively fresh as a coach into the Indian setup, and I've learned a huge amount over the last 3 years. So it's important for me that I continue that learning and I continue growing as a coach. But I don't think I've changed that much as a person. I mean, I've always believed that there are certain ways one should go about doing things in one's life, and I'd like to think that I stay on that path. But certainly, something like this or a time like this does make you, I suppose, look at things in a way that you say, well, where to from here, and what are the opportunities that go ahead? And I'm very humbled by that, and privileged that there would be other options after my time with the Indian team. And then I guess it's just to make the decisions that are most appropriate from a career point of view and from a family point of view.
Well, Gary, there's one question the whole of India and perhaps the entire cricketing world wants to know. Where do we see Gary Kirsten coach next?
Yeah, as I said, I mean, it's been a privileged position to have received a number of offers in all different spheres, and I've got to make decisions pretty soon now and decide which way to go, because coaching is my passion. I love it, and I want to carry on coaching in the cricket world. So, whether it's doing an IPL job, whether it's doing something in my home country in South Africa, I'm not sure just yet. But as I said, if it works out in a way that I can pursue my career as a coach, but I can also add value to my family and have a significant impact on my family, then I'll make that decision accordingly.
Well, Gary, as you're aware that Duncan Fletcher will be filling in your big shoes and the expectations will be huge. If you had to give him an advice, what would that be?
Well, I did have some time with him, and he was just very good in the way he asked questions about my process and time with the Indian side. But he'll have his own ideas, and I don't think that's a bad thing. He brings a fresh perspective, and he's been very successful as a coach wherever he's gone. So, I've no doubt that he will arrive and offer value to the Indian team. I mean, the only thing I can really do is just give him, my experiences, and it's really, up to him to take on board what he thinks is relevant and not relevant. But, I know he's been a very successful coach. He's been a coach of mine, when I was a youngster, so I know about him and how he operates, and, I think he's going to enjoy his time with the Indian team, and the Indian players are going to enjoy him.
Just out of curiosity, Gary, do you foresee a return to India?
I don't think I'll ever not come back to India. I mean, it's like second home to me, India, and I've had such an amazing 3 years there that I always feel I'll come back in whatever capacity. Whether it's as a coach in the IPL, or whether it's just coming to meet up with friends, or whether it's doing 1 or 2 presentations into the corporate world, whatever it is, I think I'll always be coming back to India over the next while, that's for sure.
Right, talking about Test cricket on a whole, do you think the longest format of the game is currently in a healthy state?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly the experiences that I had on the road with the Indian team, and what I saw that, Test match cricket is, for me, the purest form of the game, and it's the game that I love the most. And we had some great confrontations with the Indian side, and we set up our stall that we wanted to be the best Test team in the world. And to go on that process, I really enjoy it. And I think this 2011 World Cup's just shown from a 50-over format that it's the game's in good hands, and it's a healthy product, and people still love it. And equally, obviously, the newer version, the T20 format, just brings an added excitement and interest from maybe a different sector of the cricket watching public that also enjoy it. But it's a global game, and I think for me, what I've seen, it's in a good space at the moment.
Any particular change or changes that you would like to see in the game?
I think it's difficult to pinpoint 1 or 2 things. I think that's why we have committees of the nature that we're in, just to discuss way forwards in many different aspects. And so those committees can really offer the recommendations. I think it's important from an administrative point of view that whatever trends are developing in the game, that that they've spoken about, and that if it's a positive trend that it continues, and if it's a negative trend that those issues are addressed, to stay abreast with, I suppose, the change that you would have in any environment or any place you walk into, that you stay on top of change and make sure that it's for the better for your product.
Thank you so much for your time, Gary. It's been a pleasure.
That was former India coach Gary Kirsten talking about his love for the game and his prospects in the future. However, Gary is not the only coach in the Kirsten family. His half-brother Peter Kirsten just took up an assignment to coach Sierra Leone, and he is also in conversation with Jatin Sapru.
You pretty much seem to be on an African safari. You were with Zambia before this in 2010, coaching the team over there. Now you've headed to Sierra Leone, West Africa. You really like these challenges in different African countries, don't you?
Well, I'm an African, number one. I've also been helping Kenya out in their preparations with other brother Andrew in 2009 with the World Cup qualifications. We did qualify them for the World Cup, but then they fired us. So I don't understand that situation, but here we are. Zambia also disappointing. We had a great year last year, 2010, but the administration wasn't honest. So, Sierra Leone, I just enjoy helping people to improve their game, and it's in the blood, I think, to assist and make people better cricketers. I think there's a lot of enthusiasm in Africa, and it's just great to see the guys expressing their talents, and they're all very keen. So this is going to be another great tournament.
How will you turn these aspiring cricketers into polished diamonds?
Obviously, I think they battle against the spin bowlers a lot. I think I find that out. Their facilities in Sierra Leone are very poor. So, once they can upgrade their facilities with decent pitches and net practice facilities, I'm sure they will gain greater confidence in batting versus spinners. Bowling and fielding is generally pretty sound, It's the batting and the finer points.
Peter, I'm sure not many of us know a lot about the history of cricket in Sierra Leone. Now that you are there, if you could just give us a bit of a hint so as to how the locals react to the sport picking up in the country?
Yes, their history is very, very interesting. Obviously, it's a British colony, so I think the British have had a huge influence in the cricket in the past. I think West African cricket has always been very keen. I've heard about the great derby matches between Nigeria and Sierra Leone. So there's no shortage of passion and the desire to improve their game. So I think once they can establish some kind of financial base and assistance from their government to improve their facilities, you should see not only Sierra Leone but certainly other African countries really climb the ladder. You've seen it with Uganda. Kenya have been there for a long time, and you're seeing Nigeria progress through now to World Division 6. So it's all there. It's just a case of, I think getting greater exposure to the higher standard of cricket.
Well, we're going through the IPL here in this part of the world, but I believe not that far away is another tournament, the African Premier League. If you could just tell us a bit more about that.
That's right. It's the IPL starting on Saturday. There are 9 countries. There would have been 10, but Zambia have been suspended, so 9 countries start on Saturday, and another great opportunity to play 2020 cricket. So we're well underway preparing for the big tournament. The guys obviously gathered a great deal of information and knowledge from watching the IPL in India, so they really can't wait to start on Saturday. So it's just amazing to watch their enthusiasm.
What about half-brother Gary, who's accomplished something that the whole of India is still hungover about, the big World Cup title? Any plans to team up with him and probably fly him over to West Africa?
That's right. I've been speaking to him quite regularly, and he really did fantastically well with India. And I'm sure whatever decision and offer he accepts in the next month or two will be a one for him. And certainly it would be great to team up with him, or who knows where we're all going to end up. But I see, Kenya's coaching position is up, in Bangladesh both coaching position is, all kinds of things crop up. So we'll just see what happens.
Peter, it's been a pleasure talking to you, wishing you all the very best for this great challenge that you've undertaken.
Peter Kirsten gearing up for the African Premier League that starts this Saturday. Will the Kirsten magic work here as well? The first test match between West Indies and Pakistan starts today in Guyana, and remember, India will be touring there later. We managed to catch up with local hero Ian Bishop and asked him his views about the West Indies-Pakistan series.
Ian Bishop, thank you so much for giving ICC Cricket World your valuable time. Starting off, how do you see this Pakistan-West Indies Test series coming up, given the fact that both of the teams just took on each other in a 5-match ODI series and some of the players will be repeating their presence?
I do believe it'll be a more interesting Test match series because of the fact, I think, by the West Indies winning the last 2 one-day internationals, even after the series was gone, they learned a lot. And I think Pakistan's batting showed some vulnerability, and with Yunus Khan returning to Pakistan or going, I think, to Germany, wherever it is, it weakens Pakistan experience, which they badly need. So I think depending on pitch conditions, it could be a competitive series.
Bish, what about the players coming back for the West Indies? Guys like Shivnarine Chanderpaul, Ramnaresh Sarwan. How important is it for them to really get their act together in this series? Because India will be touring in just 4 weeks' time.
Yeah, big for those 2 guys simply because of the number of things and issues that they've had to work through with the board and the vitriol that has been spewing around. So I think the team needs them. The team needs some experienced batsmen like those 2 guys, but those 2 guys need peace of mind as well in order to perform. I think there's so much happening that someone has to go to them and say, look, you're a valued member of this team, we require you, the young guys require you, so we're giving you the assurance that you are part and that you're welcome, so that they can have their peace of mind in order to perform. That's the only way you perform, when you've got peace of mind.
Bish, off late the West Indies team has struggled to take 20 wickets, something according to you and a lot of other experts is the only way to really win a test match. The emergence of Ravi Rampal and Devendra Bishu in the recent times, how important is this for the West Indies going into the series? Good positive signs for the bowling attack?
It's building. The bowling resources are building. Rampal has learned a lot in the last couple of years, last year in particular, and I think he's bowling really well, so they should really play him on form. Kemar Roach has to recapture his form, but you're right, Bishu brings an added bite to that bowling attack that has been missing, an attacking leg spin bowler. So I think there are some resources building around the bowling attack that's promising.
Well, Pakistan have never won a test series in the West Indies. Do you reckon that will be one of the big motivational factors for them? And what do they need to do different to change that result?
Well, again, it comes down to the batting. Because I was thinking Umar Abul, they've got a very good seamer. Saeed Ajmal, Abdur Rahman, 2 very competent spinners. So I think the bowling will be competent. However, I would worry about the batting. Prior to Yunus going back, I would have said that, yeah, good chance for Pakistan to win. But now with that batting, no Kamran Akmal there, I think the batting really does lack the experience. And if they're not careful, I really do feel West Indies can overturn them depending on pitch conditions.
Bish, if you look at the Pakistan squad, it's a mix of experience and youth. How much of a role do the experienced campaigners, guys like Misbah-ul Haq, really have to play to provide that cushion to the youngsters?
Yeah, it's a cushion. Tawfiq is making his way again. Misbah is obviously a class player. Umar Akmal still has to look to cement that outstanding talent that he has. So I'm not saying it's not a good batting lineup. I'm saying that there's some vulnerability there without a couple of senior players. And what happens when you have a senior player is that the young players can say, the Shafiqs, I can play my game because I've got Misbah to come, I've got Kamran Akmal if he was there down the order, I've got Yunus Khan in my lineup. So it gives confidence to those guys. But when you've got 1 or 2 senior players missing, then guys start being a little bit circumspect and doubting themselves. So again, it's my view that they're vulnerable. So your senior players have to come up trumps.
Bish, you're a Guyanese. That's where the first test match will be played, and also headed to St. Kitts for the second test. What do we expect from the conditions, and what kind of things should the teams keep in mind when they're selecting their playing 11s?
Traditionally, the Providence surface and the St. Kitts surface particularly have been very batsman friendly, extremely, too much so probably. What I did see in the one-day game in Guyana was they tried to leave some grass on it, and I don't know if that's a prelude to what they're trying to do to the test match, to produce a result pitch, but usually batsmen prosper there. But they have to do something different, because if they produce a dry surface, it's right into Pakistan's hands. So I would think they try to leave some grass on the sim kits. I don't think they'll change much. I think it'll be a batting paradise. It always has been. They'll won 5 days of cricket there.
One last question, Bish. Should West Indies take this series as a preparatory one for India, or should this be right now their main concern?
No, they've got to take it as a series. Pakistan, a reputable team in their own right. Pakistan have been playing very good cricket over the last couple of years, and all of that away from home. So you can't say you'll overlook Pakistan with a view to India. Every test series needs to be won and to be played in the right spirit, and then you look after India on its own. So test cricket is no place to look to develop things. You have to play each game as if it's important.
Ian, thank you so much for talking to us and sharing your views.
Ian Bishop there, talking to us from the West Indies on ICC Cricket World. It's now time to have a look at the Reliance ICC player rankings. Who else but the Indian maestro Sachin Tendulkar rules the roost in the Reliance ICC player rankings in test matches with 883 points. Tied with him in points is South African Jacques Kallis, and trailing this duo by just 1 point is former Sri Lankan captain Kumar Sangakkara. Following the elegant left-hander are Englishman Jonathan Trott and the new one-day captain Alistair Cook. India's injured man Virendra Sehwag is on 6th place, closely followed by Mahela Jayawardene. West Indies comeback man Shivnarayan Chanderpaul is at number 8 with 779 points, and completing the top 10 in the test match rankings are VVS Lakshman and Thilan Samaravida. Moving to the Reliance ICC player rankings for bowlers in test matches, paceman Dale Steyn is leading the charts with 899 points. Steyn leaves the opposition far behind, and in second place is English off-spinner Graham Swan with only 793 points. Swan is followed by teammate James Anderson, with Morne Morkel on 4th, with the tall South African garnering 751 points. Fast catching up with him is the spearhead of India's bowling attack Zahir Khan. Next up, another left-arm pacer in Mitchell Johnson, followed by 3 spinners, Harbhajan Singh, Shakib Al Hasan and Daniel Vettori. And the final bowler in the top 10 is England's new 2020 captain, Stuart Broad. That completes the Reliance ICC Test rankings for bowlers. Well, that's all the time we have this week on ICC Cricket World. We do hope you enjoyed the show as much as we always enjoy putting it together. Until we see you next time, this is Gautam Bhimani saying goodbye.